Hello, today we're beginning Unit A with Lesson 1.6. Now before we begin, I have a couple expectations with these videos. I do expect that as you are watching the video, you have the volume on and you are listening to me explain the problem. You are pausing it when you need to pause it, and when you are completing the U-tries. When I check this video in tomorrow, I'm going to expect that you have written down what I have written down as we do the problems, and I expect that you have the U-tries complete. If the U-tries are not complete, you will not get full credit for the video. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. So today we're doing solving linear inequalities. Now we already reviewed this in the pre-unit because this is from Algebra 1. What's new is the way we write our answer. We are going to write our answer in what is called in what is called interval notation. Interval notation is a way to represent the solution on a number line. So let's pretend we solved an inequality and we got these four answers. I'm going to graph them and then I'm going to talk about what interval notation is. Now we will do interval notation throughout this entire year, so it is important that you pick up on this. Okay, so if I have 2 on all these number lines and I go ahead and I fill in the graphs, this one is going to be greater than or equal to, so it would look like that. This one is going to be just greater than. This one's going to be less than or equal to, and this one's going to be just less than. Now, this is a representation of what I see on the graph. So I'm looking left to right, and the first thing I see is that it can equal 2. When it can equal something, we make a bracket. And then I see it's going forever to the right, so it's going to positive infinity. Now, infinity is not a number, so we put a parenthesis around it because our answer cannot equal infinity. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this one. I'm looking left to right. The first thing I see is a 2, but this time it's not equal to 2. So I use a parenthesis. And then again, it's going to positive infinity. Okay, this one, what do I see? I see the arrow going to my negative numbers. It's going forever to negative infinity. So we're going to write negative infinity. And then we see it hits 2, and it can equal 2. Same thing down here. It starts at the negative infinities, but this time it cannot equal 2. So brackets mean it can equal a number. Parentheses mean it cannot. You should always sketch a number line first, even if there's not a space for it, so that you know how to write your answer. Okay, let's go ahead and try an example. So I have 2 quick examples here. When you are solving number 1, you want to make sure you multiply both sides by 3. When you do that, you get x is greater than 24. So I'm going to make sure I put 24 on the number line, an open circle because it can't equal it, and an arrow to the right. Now, why did I do that? So I know how to write my answer in interval notation, which will be parenthesis 24, comma, infinity. There we go. That's what I want to see. Okay, next problem. I'm going to go ahead and move my x over. When I do that, I get 2x. I'm also at the same time going to go ahead and move my 12 over because I want to get that x by itself. So I get 2x is less than or equal to 8. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. X is less than or equal to 4. I'm going to put 4 on my number line, a closed circle because it can equal it, and an arrow to the left. So we have parenthesis negative infinity, 4, bracket. Okay? Now, here's where I want you to pause the video and try this U-try on your own. Must be complete when I check this in tomorrow. Go ahead, solve, graph your answer, and write your answer in interval notation. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to have compound inequalities in interval notation. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to graph these things on the number line so that we can see what the number line looks like, and then we can go ahead and write our answer in interval notation. So as you notice, I have 2 and 3 everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2's and 3's on every single number line. I just try to keep the example simple, so I'm only changing one thing so you can see how that affects interval notation. Now the left column is going to be all ands, and the right column is going to be all ors. So this one is going to be open circle, in between. This one's going to be closed circle, in between. This one has one of each, open, closed, in between. Now, here's how you write it. So you read the number line from left to right. I don't see anything until I see 2, not equal to it, so it's a parenthesis. Then I keep going until I see 3, parenthesis. This looks like an ordered pair, but this is our answer in interval notation. This is going to be the same thing, except what's different? There's going to be brackets instead of parentheses. So if you notice, ands basically look like ordered pairs. Now this one's going to have one parenthesis and one bracket. So ands are ordered pairs with possibly brackets, parentheses, or both. Okay, now ors, our graphs are going to the outsides. So we have open circle, arrow to the left, open circle, arrow to the right, and then we have closed circle, closed circle. Now these are a little bit different because we have a break in our graph. We have something or we have something else. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I go ahead and read this number line from left to right, I'm reading it, reading it, reading it. I see it's at my negative infinities. Then I see it hits 2. It's not equal to it. Or we have union. Okay, union is or. Intersection and upside down would be and. We're not intersecting because it cannot equal anything in between here. Then it's 3 to positive infinity. This is my answer in interval notation. Pretty much, there's a certain exception here and there, pretty much our ors are going to be used. Okay, so let's look at this one. Same thing. We're going to do negative infinity to 2, bracket, u, bracket, 3. Now, why is there bracket? Because the only thing that's different from the top to this problem is that it can equal 2 and 3. And this one has one of each. It goes to negative infinity to 2, bracket, union, parenthesis 3, infinity. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and try solving some problems and getting an answer and then go ahead and plotting it. Here we go. This problem, I'm going to add 1 everywhere. When I do that, I get negative 6 is less than negative x is less than or equal to 4. I don't want a negative x, so I'm going to multiply everything by a negative 1. When I do that, it flips the sign of everything. Now, I don't like to leave my answer like this. You can, but I like to put the smaller number first. Makes a little bit more sense because then I'm able to see that x is between 4 and 6. So I have 4, which it can equal, 6, which it can't, and it's an and. So what's the point of me graphing it? Is so that I can see that my interval notation, oh, this should be a negative 4, excuse me. So that my interval notation looks like this. Bracket, negative 4, comma, 6, parenthesis. Okay, now I have an example of an or. So I'm going to go ahead and solve. Now notice I'm solving these quickly because we practiced solving in the pre-unit. Add 4, so I get 1/3 x is greater than or equal to 2. Multiply both sides by 3. X is greater than or equal to 6. Open circle, arrow to the left, close circle, arrow to the right. Here's how we write our interval notation. Okay? Now, just like we did before, I want you to pause the video, try this next U-try. We will go over it tomorrow in class. I also want you to notice that at the bottom of every single video, I have a spot for questions, comments, or concerns. So anything that you didn't understand, maybe I went too fast, maybe you couldn't read my handwriting, maybe there's an issue with your calculator, write that on the bottom so that when we go over the video, I go over the video by going over the U-tries, you can ask me a question about it. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow in class.